1, 2, 3.
It's time to talk fantasy football. Get your squad ready for this week's action with Frank and the Purple Rain crew. Now, live from the Fantasy Wire studios and home of the Casual Conversation podcast, it's the Purple Rain Fantasy Show.
All right, welcome to the Purple Rain Show. We are a proud member of the Full-Time Fantasy Network. You're listening to the home of the Casual Conversation Fantasy Football Podcast. Welcome to Week 3. Crazy Week 3 to start off NFL and fantasy season. I'm your host, Frank B. You can find me on Twitter at FantasyWireHQ, online at thefantasyfootballwire.com. On the website, we've got all the week starts and sits up, all the rankings, risk-reward players, and anything you need, much more. Podcasts are all linked in there, you name it, so check that out. Bookmark it, thefantasyfootballwire.com. You can also follow the Purple Rain Show and the crew on Twitter at Purple Rain Show and online, where we've got all our contributors producing weekly fantasy articles, NFL reads, Ravens articles, much more. So check that out, purplerainshow.com. Today, I've got my co-host, Purple Rain Show writer, John Wachter. You can find him on Twitter at John_M_Wachter and at thepurplerainshow.com. John's putting out a great weekly article named Breakpoint. Showcases the game from the prior Sunday. John, why don't you tell everyone what that's all about? Give them the rundown.
All right. Hey, man. First of all, happy to be here once again. Breakpoint pretty much is, we've come to notice that a lot of games can be remembered by, a play or a drive or just a moment. So I thought it'd be interesting to, break down the play that either changed the tides, sealed a win, anything like that. So I go into it, do like a short, overall breakdown of how the game was going, try to set up, what was leading up to that play. And then I go in with Game Pass, take some gifts, explain how the play developed, why it worked, what, maybe in the future what doesn't work. So far, so good for us, though. So I haven't had to do that.
Nice.
And just kind of, break down how we won. So hopefully by the end of the season, you have 16 little articles to look back to remember each game by one play each.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be tough when you get that loss in there. It's going to have to go maybe a defense. You can blame it on the defense, maybe blame it on the offense. Let's just see what.
I'm emotionally preparing myself for it ahead of time. It's going to be rough.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, man. Keep it rolling, though. The Marquise Brown and Lamar Jackson wave continues to roll. It is absolutely insane. And I'm on it until I'm told otherwise,
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, all offseason, I was big on Lamar's development. I loved Marquise Brown coming out. I think I actually talked about it on this show around draft time, but I didn't expect it to be this good this early.
Yeah, it's been crazy. So keep that rolling. Keep bookmarking purplerainshow.com for that article and much more. It's definitely a good one, especially I like seeing the videos for the plays in case I missed something or even just to relive it. Again, is very nice. So with that, thanks for downloading the episode. Do us a favor and give this one a retweet on Twitter, share on Facebook, leave a review, tell a friend. You know what to do on the podcast. So if there's anything else that you want to hear, always hit us up on Twitter and let us know. We can get into the first segment here with some NFL news and injury updates. We all know most of these damn injury updates. We get the alerts on our phones. They're on our feed constantly, but let's go through the big ones because this has been a crazy week. We had Saints, Drew Brees, he's out 6 weeks with a thumb ligament tear. Ben Roethlisberger, done for the year. Are the Steelers done now? Cam Newton, foot injury, his status is uncertain. He's in a boot, last news clip I heard. Running back James Conner for the Steelers, knee, MRI. Kansas City Chiefs running back McCoy, he had an ankle issue this week. Eagles got hit the hardest, 2 for 1 there. Deshaun Jackson, 2-week possible miss. I heard he's going to play. He's going to go through it. I don't know. Ab strain. Alshon Jeffrey with calf issues. Chiefs running back Damian Williams, he left with a knee issue, didn't come back. Bills rookie back Devin Singletary left with a hamstring. Saints receiver Traquan Smith left early with an ankle issue. Cowboys receiver Michael Gallup, 2 to 4 weeks with a knee issue, so fire up your Randall Cobb shares. Just overall, John, this is insane. This week is like a barrage of just insane injuries and big stuff too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like every week there's injuries early in the season, especially some of these guys that didn't play as much. I feel like, but I mean, some of them are just unavoidable. Like the Drew Brees thumb injury, that's just bad luck. That
Yeah.
can happen on any throw. The Ben Roethlisberger injury, he didn't even get touched on the play, which actually makes it worse in my eyes. And
Yeah.
and then man, that Sunday night game was just a bloodbath. It seemed like pads were cracking that game.
Yeah, that's insane. I think this week people are going either way, as if, well, they didn't play in preseason, so now that's what happens, or the other way. It's hard to say the cause or what have you, but man, you don't want them to get injured in preseason, but you don't want to get injured week 3, beginning of the season either. So either way, it's a bad deal. You don't want to see it, but I'd almost feel better a couple weeks into the regular season than the preseason, because nothing is more disappointing than your top guy going out on like week 3 preseason, and the whole, it's just such a gut punch, because then it's like, God, I don't even want to really watch now. Like the team,
yeah.
like if it's your home team.
Yeah, you're right about it too. The narrative, anytime a player gets injured in the preseason, everybody's calling for the end of it. But then the season starts and they're saying these guys aren't playing good because they didn't play in the preseason. At the end of the day, it's a very physical sport. There's going to be injuries. It's unfortunate, but I mean, there's no way to stop it.
Yeah, I just remember, I don't know, the one that sticks out to me is the Jordy Nelson one years back in Pittsburgh for that preseason game, and he catches the ball, comes down off kind of like plant and turn, done for the season. I think that was like a week 3, maybe week 2 preseason game, and it was just like, man, the wind gets sucked out of your sails on that one. That just I don't know. It's not a good way to start the season, just in a hole, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's no good time for an injury, but you're right. I mean, you want to at least see the guys get a chance to play out there.
Something, yeah, give us a taste. We've been waiting all off season, but we can get into some starts this week. Let's jump in there. For fantasy starts this week, there's a lot of good ones. Always, and we say this every week, obviously you run with your starters, your big dogs, Mahomes, Brady, all your locked in guys. You always play them. But off the top, for me, I like Dak Prescott this week. Obviously, he's going against the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are toast. You can't assume any quarterback facing the Dolphins is an automatic start, I guess, because it's the NFL and it's any given Sunday. But Prescott is streaking. Miami just traded Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Steelers. Prescott, not Patrick Mahomes, right now ranks second in all of fantasy in points per game. So, and he's trailing Lamar Jackson. So yeah, Dolphins, you're going to throw him out there for sure.
He's about to get paid.
Yeah, he's going to get it. I mean, they just paid Zeke. They'll pay him. They'll lock up your quarterback and running back duo for the foreseeable future. You keep them in core group of the team and build around them. Keep going with the offensive line. They'll get them dialed in. Maybe another championship. It's hard to say. I'm not a total Cowboys hater, but I know a lot of people are. America's team is the Packers for me. I think personally, but I'm biased. Running back, I like Devontae Freeman this week. Everybody's been down on him the past 2, which is understandable. He hasn't really done much, but I think the Colts, they're definitely overall better and improved, but they've been allowing big yardage to backs. Austin Eckler and Derrick Henry each totaled up at least 90 and a touchdown. I think the Falcons, week 3, they're going to want to reestablish Freeman in the offense, keep Matt Ryan from throwing the ball 50 sometimes a game. I think this is the week to do it. Wide receiver, I like Kenny Galladay, Lions at the Eagles. Kenny G, Babytron, whatever you want to call him here. He's gotten off to a monster start. He's averaging 14 points. He put up about 13 points per game over the first 2 weeks last season before leveling to about 9, and then that was kind of like his run at the end of the season. But man, he's got a hot start this year. I like him a lot this week for sure. Tight end, I kind of went back and forth on a couple guys, but tight end, I like Zach Ertz. Eagles and the Lions. It's hard to believe, but Ertz has been shut out of the red zone and has yet to reach 10 fantasy points.
Oh, wow.
He should be way up there by now. He's top, the top dog tight ends, right? But this week, he's got, his top competition for passes with Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson. They're banged up. the trend's got to go to him, right? He's got to get the looks in the red zone. They got to split him down the middle. I think he's got a lot of good matchups, and I'm going to roll with him for a tight end this week.
Yeah, and on top of that, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it myself, but I think I heard he got a fair share of targets, especially after everybody went down. So I definitely think, full game, big opportunity for him.
Yep. Yeah, who do you like this week on some starts?
So quarterback, Lamar Jackson's an easy one. You already went over to Dak Prescott. I'm liking Russell Wilson this week too. I don't like what I see out of the Saints defense so far. They're not playing disciplined. They're playing kind of soft out there, and he's been having a great season so far. So I like that matchup there. Running back, Ezekiel Elliott obviously is going to be number one, but I'm liking Dalvin Cook. Everything I've seen from him, I think he's a guy that in open space, I don't think he has a ton of moves to break free, but the acceleration, he looks like he's like being shot out of a gun when he's going through this line. He's been consistent so far, and maybe that can keep up. I think he's got 2 25-point games, both around the same, and the Vikings are looking run heavy, maybe partially due to Kirk Cousins looking so not good.
Yeah,
I'll put it that way. So it's in their best interest to keep running him. At wide receiver, I'm pretty much loaded up on Cowboys this week. You're going against.
Well, yeah, you gotta be.
I know they're an NFL team, but until they prove anything else, I think you just keep going to the well. So I like Amari Cooper, specifically out of their group. He's one of those guys that when you look back at his stat lines, he's always got a couple huge games that really pad it. He's good week in and week out since he's been on the Cowboys, but I'm waiting for him to have one of those like huge 170-yard, 2-touchdown kind of days. So I like that. And then I like Chris Godwin a lot this week. I'm not liking the Giants' defense. I don't know what they're doing. They're not defending anything. And he just seems to have more chemistry with Jameis so far. Jameis's throws to Mike Evans have been off. He's off to a slow start. And Chris Godwin's been, their de facto number one, at least stats-wise. So I think he can keep that up. And then at tight end, the matchups, and they're already good guys, but if you're not on the Mark Andrews train for fantasy tight ends right now, you got to get on it because our offense seems completely revolving around him and Hollywood. And Lamar loves finding him. He's put up back-to-back 100-yard, 1 touchdown days. You got to start him.
Absolutely. Yeah, Andrews has been a monster. I love this guy. I loved him in the offseason. A lot of people were saying, no, he's past top 10. He's not even in the top 10. And look at him. It's nice to see a Ravens tight end dominating, Oh,
yeah. And, the matchup's good, too, not to beat on that drum, but, the Chiefs' defense is maybe it's better than last year, but it's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, and going back to Chris Godwin for the Bucs, too, I'm wondering if teams are going to start focusing on him, figuring it out a little bit, and then opening up some more looks and opportunity for Evans. But, yeah, he's had a really slow start. I know it's because of Godwin's getting all the looks, and he's a matchup problem, but man, I can't see. Evans is always the guy I don't want in fantasy, but I always end up getting stuck with, it seems like, in a league or two. He just falls and he's there and you're like, oh, I can't let him keep, he's somebody's going to take him. I better take him. And then you get stuck with him and then you're like, God, I should have never picked him.
That's exactly what happened to me. The value was too good. Now I'm watching him barely miss out on touchdowns 3 times a game. It's pretty frustrating so far, but it's not like he's getting targets in the red zone. They're just a little off. So I can definitely see him turning it around. But for now, I'm loving Chris Godwin.
Yeah, absolutely. I got Godwin in like 2 leagues, and I'm just going to run him out there every week as a flex at worst and, keep rolling with him until teams start figuring him out or really start paying more attention to him. We'll see what happens. I get to the other end of the spectrum. We'll go on some sits. Some fantasy sits this week. I was going Marcus Mariota, Titans and Jags. I know Mariota started off strong in week 1. I think he had like 24 points, but he kind of returned to his average norm in week 2 at 13, and that was despite 4 more pass attempts and better completion percentage, but it's a short week. He's got the quad injury. He was sacked 4 times in each game, and it's a division rival. The Jags shut him out of the red zone in 2 meetings last season, and they're facing the prospect of going 0-3. I think the Jags are going to be fired up. Say what you want about the, craziness of the team and the dysfunction of it, but I think they're going to kind of be out for blood, especially against a division rival. Tariq Cohen for running back, Bears at Redskins. The Bears are ranked 23rd in offensive plays per game at 60.5. They're down from 63 last season. The Cohen's usage, to me, I think last season it always varied. He could kind of, like you said, he'd get hot in a game or he'd disappear. How you saying, Amari Cooper? He's good for one bust-out game, and then he'd disappear for a couple weeks. But he saw as many as like 20 touches in a game 2 times last season. This season, he hasn't even had half of that. So if getting about 8 touches is the trend to him, I don't feel comfortable putting him out there even at a flex. I mean, if you got him on a roster, I'd probably try to trade him or maybe even drop him. I don't know. I just don't think David Montgomery, the hype is there and they're not using him as much. But then in the opportunities, it's like Trubisky's kind of like a Cousins. He's not really wowing me or impressing me with much. He kind of did week 1 with Allen Robinson, but it doesn't seem like they're using Cohen as much as they did last year or to the degree. Wide receiver. Yeah.
Well,
good.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say it just seems weird because it seemed like Montgomery and Cohen were gonna have different roles to be able to coexist. I don't know if the offense in general just looks terrible, and I have a lot more to say about that as we go on.
Yeah.
But, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. The other receiver I'd go with like Cortland Sutton, Broncos at Packers. Even Emmanuel Sanders, I don't like either one of these receivers this week. Emmanuel Sanders is going to be matched up on Jaire Alexander. He's been a lockdown. He's been really coming into his own. But Cortland Sutton, too, after a promising week 1, I think he had like 15 points. He was a no-show against the Bears. I know Joe Flacco's kind of funneling everything to Sanders, but there's hardly a drop-off from the Bears secondary, to the Packers secondary. They're pretty close. I think the Bears obviously get more pressure, but the Packers backfield is really good. It's revamped. It's coming along. It's got Mike Pettin running the defense, former Ravens coordinator and assistant. But Flacco seems to be locked in on Sanders, and I think the pass rush, the coverage can. If Flacco's 3.4 yard average or whatever his asinine low passing averages, he's like a one-read quarterback now, and he's slow. He's not mobile. He's got a slower windup, not a quick release. I think if he's under pressure, you saw last week with the Bears. He'll hang in there still in the pocket. I like that, but I think just for the rest of the offense, this matchup's got a potential to be like another low-scoring affair, possibly, or it's just going to be they're going to have to funnel everything to Phillip Lindsay. And then tight end, I got Will Dissly, tight end Seahawks. Everybody's jumping up. He's a fantasy darling this past week, but he's a blocking tight end who's going to boom or bust. The Saints aren't an ideal matchup for this guy, but I guess if you're desperate, if you're in a deep league, grab him. But I'd put him in that boom bust category 110%. He could absolutely disappear this week. I wouldn't want him as my starter. Who you got?
All right, so going down my list, my sit, I don't think I even need to say it, but Mitchell Trubisky, you cannot put this guy on your. He looks. I guess his prime was year 2 because he appears to be regressing already year 3. I just disappointed with that progression. And then I also have, whether he's listed as out or not, you can't put Cam Newton in there.
No,
I don't know. Watching that game on Thursday, I think Troy Aikman said about a dozen times that he's healthy. He does not look it. I don't know what he was looking at. I don't know if he just believed a trainer, but he's missing throws. The arm strength's not there. He's not scrambling. I haven't played a snap in the NFL, and I have more rush yards than him this season. It's somebody I want to avoid until at least he looks good. So we'll see as he goes on. But you can't put him out there.
Nah.
At running back, I've got anybody that the Chiefs are going to roll out this week. Damian Williams, was hobbled. I don't know if he's going to wind up playing. LaShawn McCoy. It doesn't really matter who they put out there, and they might get somebody who takes like a screen pass and gets some yards off of it. But the Ravens are allowing only 20 rush yards a game. Obviously, that's going to come up because that's just absolutely ridiculous. But I think they've shown that you can't get anything. David Johnson got that rushing touchdown, which I think we were playing pass on that. He just walked in. Yeah. Aside from that, there's been absolutely nothing. And then I also have Phillip Lindsay in at running back just because I'm liking what I'm seeing from Green Bay a lot. And Lindsey hasn't exactly been killing it. He's been doing decent, but I don't like the matchup. I don't think he has insane upside, so I wouldn't be overly comfortable with him as my starter unless I had to. At wide receiver, I have any Saints wide receiver that's not Michael Thomas. He's still going to get his targets. He's what I would call too good to fail. He's going to get thrown to, but Teddy Bridgewater didn't exactly look great. I don't know if they're going to roll Taysom Hill out there. I don't know what the plan is, but Drew Brees is great at, distributing the ball to many different receivers. Everybody kind of gets their share. I don't think that the offense is going to look quite the same.
You there? It's cutting out.
Not going to get a deep ball from. Oh, I'm sorry about that. How long have I been out for?
Oh, it was just a second or two.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, pretty much any non Michael Thomas Saints receiver, because I don't think that the play style is going to be there.
Yeah.
And then also, I mean, if you're still starting Paul Richardson, he does not look like their number one, but whether they want to say he is or not.
No, not at all. That guy.
Yeah, he's not been effective. And then at tight end, Kyle Rudolph has 9 yards through 2 games. A lot of that's Kirk Cousins looking bad, but I mean, even if he's bad, he should be there. I would go for a high upside backup over him. And then I'm also staying away from Eric Ebron. I know he had 10 points this week, but one of them was on like a easy shovel pass that they schemed for him. Aside from that, he hasn't really done too much, so I'm avoiding him for the time being.
Yeah, Falcons defense is a little hotter coming off the Sunday's game, but I don't. Ebron's a guy that I typically try to stay away from. I had him the one season; he was a total bust, and then he catches fire last year, and this year I'm not playing that game again.
Yeah, I just don't like his hands, which is a trait that I like to have in a tight end, so I'd like to stay away from him.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into some rapid fire questions for each other here. You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I can go. You want to go just straight 5 and then switch it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll jump in. Let's go. So, with Ben Roethlisberger's elbow injury, and I don't think they've said exactly what it is, just that he's out for this season. Do you think there's a chance that he does not take the field again? Keep in mind that he does have the 2 years on his contract, and he says that he plans on playing it out.
I think he does come back. I think it's a bad injury, but he's kind of going to be like Brett Favre, where you got to peel him off the damn turf to tell him it's over. But any other quarterback, I think they'd probably be done. But that, say what you want about him, and I don't like him, but he is a tough guy. So I could see him forcing something, or it only takes that one hit. But man, they're going to have to peel him off to get him to finally hang it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. This one's specifically for you because I know you've been watching them. Is the Packers a defense as good as they look, or is it the matchups making it look that way? It's tough.
I think they are. I think they made a lot of big steps, and they've gotten faster because team speed, defensive speed was like primo goal this offseason. Taking Darnell Savage out of Maryland, speed guy. Alexander the other year, speed guy out of Louisville. They got rid of Mike Daniels. They don't want these. When Ted Thompson was the GM, they were drafting all these tweener guys. And tweener guys were small guys in college that, maybe they could play linebacker. Maybe they could play DN. Maybe they could. And it was like, no. So Gutekunst, the new GM, he's got a plan. He wants this team getting bigger. He got rid of Daniels. He was a smaller guy. Even though he was a stud for the defensive line, they still let him go. They're trying to get bigger in the trenches, which I like personally. And with Pettin, they kept him on even when they fired McCarthy. I think they like his scheme, and I think his first year he had to clean up the Dom Capers mess of players and schemes and everything they were doing. And I think he made a stride and said, get me my guys, let me get my groceries, and I'll get you a defense. And I think it is coming into focus, and you can see it the way the backfield's been playing the most. They got rid of Morgan Burnett. They got rid of Clinton Dix. Those guys were just mediocre, and even with Savage as a rookie, he's on the field immediately. Alexander at a rookie right out of college, he's starting right away. So these are guys out of named schools, I guess. They used to go after these little no-namer school guys. But I think it is for real. It's coming into focus. I think by mid-season we'll have a real good feel of it. They need some tough matchups to really get their feet wet and see where they're at, and that's what I'm looking forward to this season.
Yeah, I agree with that. It looks like they really committed to it, and they look like they could be top 7, maybe even top 5 if they keep playing like that. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
I also have with Drew Brees out, looking about 6 weeks, maybe a little bit more, depending. Who do you think wins the NFC South, or do you think it's still theirs?
Oof. The Falcons could sneak in and take that. They absolutely could, because I don't think this Cam Newton thing. You need a quarterback for playoffs. You're not doing anything. If it's week 3 and you're already banged up in a boot and not throwing right, that makes me worry. I think if Teddy Bridgewater can come in, they paid him the most to be this backup. If he can come in and get by, it's got to be the Saints. I mean, Winston throws too many picks, and they have no defense. The Saints have probably the best defense in that division. It's got to be the Saints. And that's just the only logical thing. And between them and the Falcons for me. Yeah, I'm thinking so. Even with him out, I think the Saints can still eke it out. Okay, so getting way ahead of ourselves and getting way into the hype, do you think that the Ravens are good enough to have a legitimate chance at a bye week, or are the Chiefs and Patriots just a tier above? Oh, I think they are. I think the Ravens could get a bye for sure. I think they're only gonna get better. And they're going to have some bumps, and they're going to have some bad games. They're going to lay an egg at some point, and everybody's going to, that's it, they suck. I told you. I know it's going to happen, right? But just look at the progression that Lamar Jackson made in the offseason. You can see it. So offensively for Greg Roman, we went into this season thinking it's going to be heavy run game, big dose of the run game. It's all going to be run, ground and pound. And look at the offense. It's as balanced as it was when Kubiak was here, and we loved Kubiak's offensive play calling. I love it. It's the most balance I've seen out of this team for a while. So as long as they get better and progress and let them have a couple bad games and learn from it. I want to see how they stack up against the Chiefs this week. I want to see how they stack up against the Patriots on the Sunday night game coming up, in a few weeks. That's going to be your litmus test, because those are the two teams you're going to be playing. You're gonna see him again if you want to go anywhere. So that's going to be where it stands for me. Yeah, and I'm liking our chances too. I think aside from those two and us, the AFC's looking a little weaker than I thought it would this year. The Browns, maybe they get a little bit better, but maybe it's just the hype. They've looked about pedestrian. I think they're a playoff team, but I'm not too afraid of most of these other guys. So I agree with that. Yep. And so last one here, excluding Ravens and Packers players, who is your favorite player to watch in the NFL? Right now, I'd say I love McCaffrey and I love Kamara. Those two for running backs. I love their style. And then wide receiver, I'd probably say I like Godwin. I think he's insane. I like watching him. And probably sounds funny, but like Keenan Allen. I've always liked him. Just because he's a smaller guy, I just like what he does too. When he's healthy and he's like unstoppable, and he makes some crazy catches. Yeah, he's sharp. I like him a lot. Those would probably be top 4. Oh yeah, yeah. There's so many fun guys to watch. When I was typing it up to ask you, I was thinking about what my answer would be. I think it was kind of influenced by that it was Cam, and then watching him on Thursday was really sad. But there's still a ton of fun guys to watch. Yeah. All right, I got some for you. You ready? I think so. I hope so. All right, let's do an easy one. Don't think, don't blink. I want you to tell me cut or keep the following quarterbacks. I'm just gonna give you a few. If they're on your fantasy team, you cutting them or keeping them? Derek Carr. Ugh, cut. Cousins. I'll definitely cut. Trubisky. Cut. Cam. I'm going to keep him. He's going to be on the bench, though. Okay, I was curious if you were going to say keep him on Derek Carr or not, too, because I was figuring it would be 2 keeps. Because, yeah, it's hard. I've had some questions, and I'm just being on Twitter all the time, too, You see people asking questions and polls and whatnot, and it's hard to look ahead to see, is Cam somebody I want to hold on to? Is Derek Carr somebody I want to hold on to, depending on how the schedule shapes up, what they do? You know what I mean? It's just interesting to see how far some people want to look ahead, or they're in the moment and it's like, well, they sucked right now, I'm dropping them.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and I could see an argument for keeping Trubisky because if he
Almost,
developed, but
yeah.
right now I just don't want it.
Yeah, he's having a miserable first few weeks here. So number 2, with the absolute gut punch of injuries for week 2, what's the worst injury you personally ever had? Whether it was sports related or anything, injury-wise.
Okay. So I broke my wrist one night. Completely stupid, and I hope my mom doesn't listen to this. I was drinking. I was pretty young. I'll leave it at that. And I got into an argument with my then girlfriend, and I just punched a wall and broke my wrist. And I'm still kind of dealing with it because I didn't exactly get great care for it. I don't know if it was a full break. It wasn't too bad, but yeah, tough story. We kind of look back on it, kind of funny, but at the time it was definitely bad.
Yeah, the old girlfriend and punch the wall.
You have to sometimes when you're young.
Yep. Then number 3, I have no idea, but are you a baseball fan? And if so, what's the team? Is it Orioles or somebody else or what?
I'm a casual baseball fan.
Casual, okay.
I watched the Orioles. There was a few seasons I was trying to catch every game. I don't feel like I have to catch every game this year. I feel like I know what's going on with them.
Yeah, but tune back in like 3 to 5 years.
It's kind of fun to get to watch a rebuild, but it's not fun to watch it for 162 games a year.
Right, yeah, just catch the occasional TV game or go to the game just for I just like going for the environment.
Going to the game.
Camden Yards.
Anytime I get a chance, that's a fun experience. Plus the tickets are really cheap right now, so that's easy.
Hell yeah. And then I'm going to say number 4, give me one player that is currently in good fantasy graces that's going to be a dud by season's end. So somebody that they don't have to be necessarily high on this player, but just somebody that's been average to really good maybe. And then by the season, because every year there's always a guy that starts out and you're like, oh, I got to get this guy. Maybe you land him on your roster, and then by the end of the season you're dumping him. You're like, this guy sucks right now. I was trying to think of a few examples. I couldn't think of any off the top of my head, but there's always a few, always one or two.
Yeah, so it is tough off the top of your head because you want to like all the guys. I don't want to just hate on people, but I've experienced the Derrick Henry thing. Normally he does what he's doing right now at the end of the season, so I could see it being flipped potentially. It's tough. Thinking off the top of your head, there's got to be a couple. The running backs in San Francisco, maybe they could fall off Matt Breida, although he was good last season. I just don't trust his long-term health. And then when Tevin Coleman comes back, I don't know how that'll look.
Right.
And and I think last week the big waiver pickup guy you had to get was Ronald Jones, and then I don't think he did anything. So
yeah,
the weak waiver guys you want to watch out for.
Yeah. And then number 5. What fantasy player will be the quote from out of nowhere player by year's end? I guess you could probably think back to like Kareem Hunt when he had his breakout game against the Patriots. Nobody had that guy. Hardly any. If you had him in Dynasty, but not a lot of redraft people had him at all. He was a rookie. You don't know. He's going to the Chiefs. Had no idea. And then boom, he comes out of nowhere and he pretty much took the rest of the season and killed it. So like, what player this year could be that guy?
So I just want to say last year I was on the D.D. Westbrook train before it broke off, so I have a 1-year streak going.
There you go.
If that means anything. This year, I think he's already been found out, but I think Terry McLaurin, especially if you're in a dynasty league, that's somebody, he's probably picked up by now, but he looks like their true number 1. I like everything I'm seeing out of that guy, and I think he's somebody they're going to build around, so big things out of him.
Yeah, I could see that, especially if Case Keenum's out, and then they put in his Ohio State teammate, right, for Haskins.
Yeah. Sixth question here. Why is Dwayne Haskins not playing right now? I don't understand.
It's the Case Keenum voodoo, man. He's got that voodoo on teams. They don't yank him until he's really bad. I don't know. I don't see it. They just Jay Gruden. If he was the coach of my team, I'd be miserable. I could not stand dealing with him as a coach because he doesn't tell you anything, and he's really weird. He's aloof. He's just goofy, and
He doesn't exactly have a great record either. I don't know why he is still there. He's really good at making moves that make it look like it wasn't his fault. And I think that maybe that's what Case Keenum is.
I mean, if you listen to his interviews and press conferences, he's just a goofball. Like, I'd hate to be a beat reporter trying to ask him questions, and he's just odd. I don't know. So in his mind, for whatever reason, he must not think Haskins is ready. Maybe he's not. I don't know. But, man, you'd think he gives you a little better opportunity than Keenum, right? Maybe.
And if nothing else, if you're building towards the future, you want the young guy. And I don't think Case Keenum's going to be there in a decade.
No,
best case,
yeah. See what happens through the next couple of weeks. Maybe they'll bench him.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
All right, well, let's get into some risk and reward, or like boom or bust players here. I got a pretty decent list for these guys. I think this week they could be, high ceiling players, overachievers. They could bust. It's hard to say, but I thought quarterback Andy Dalton going up against the Bengals. He's been getting a lot of stuff by via high volume and garbage time, but it's hard to say. Bills' pass defense is going to be pumped for the home opener, but you never know if it's a shootout or something. He's got to catch up. There's going to be a big chunk of garbage time there. Josh Gordon for the Patriots going up against the Jets. I wanted to almost start him this week, but every time I slide him into that category, I have to go, okay, well, you got Antonio Brown now. You got Julian Edelman. It's just hard to see what he's going to do, if it's going to be like a blowout kind of game or an easy, maybe not easy win, but they usually own the Jets. But are they going to keep force feeding? They were force feeding the hell out of Antonio Brown in Miami. So are they going to keep that going? It's hard to say. I think Gordon would be a boom or bust guy this week. And then Robbie Anderson for the Jets. He's going to be locked up on Stephon Gilmore. Josh Jacobs, running back for the Raiders. He's been a hot back. Going up against the Vikings. I mean, man, Aaron Jones got it done for the Packers last week. But the Vikings at home are just a different kind of team. They're indoors. They're on the turf. The stadium is absolutely insane loud. They pump it through the speakers. But that line is still good. It's still a good line. I think they had a bad game in Green Bay. I think they go home and they could lock him down. I know you were talking about Phillip Lindsay earlier. I had him as a boom or bust guy only because if the game plan is to like stack the box and make Joe Flacco beat you, I think they could take him out of the game. PPR wise for fantasy, he's going to catch some stuff out of the backfield because Flacco obviously loves his checkdowns and his backs in the flat. So I don't think he'd be half bad, but it's hard to say. Now, if he can run on the Packers like Dalvin Cook did, he could have a nice day along with some catches because he'll catch a hell of a lot more passes than Dalvin Cook does. And then going back to the Raiders, Darren Waller's been a hot tight end. I grabbed him in a few leagues, but he's going up against the Vikings. And, man, the Vikings linebackers are good. They got good Vikings. They got Harrison Smith at safety. I think they can take him out of the game. I mean, it's pretty well known that he's going to be he's getting a lot of Jared Cook's targets. He's involved in the game plan. It's him and Tyrell Williams, so they could focus on him. Austin Hooper going against the Colts. The Colts are as good as in coverage as the Vikings are, I think, in their second level. So they could kind of erase him out of that game as well. And that's at Indy, same kind of thing, inside in the dome. Falcons are on the road. So those would be my risk reward guys this week.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I have at quarterback, I'm looking at Jameis Winston. I don't think he's great. I think we know what Jameis Winston is, but again, that Giants secondary is just looking ready to be picked apart. So I think he could have a big day, or he could, turn the ball over 5 times, and I don't know who's to say. So it can go either way with that one. And I also have a bonus quarterback. I got Jimmy Garoppolo, just based off of how his first 2 games have gone. I thought he looked terrible in the preseason for the most part. Week 1, not impressed at all, but last week he was looking really good. I don't think the Steelers' defense is very good. I know they just picked up Minkah Fitzpatrick. I don't know if he's going to be ready to. He's probably not going to be ready to start on an every snap basis. So he's not going to have to go against that. And I think he could be primed for a pretty big day. At running back, I have, you mentioned him earlier as a potential start, Devontae Freeman. You already mentioned he's been pretty disappointing so far, but I think the Colts have just been getting killed on the ground. I mean, they've faced pretty good running teams, but I think he can definitely keep that trend up. And then I also have Derrick Henry there. I know he's had two big games. Like the first one was like 28 points or something. I had him on my bench. It was great. And then week 2, he had like 16, more than that.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit worried because it's a divisional game. He did do good in the divisional game last week, but I'm worried about that. And he's just a guy who is all or nothing. Like he'll have that huge day that makes you believe he's like one of the best, and then he'll do nothing.
Yeah.
A wide receiver, I have pretty much the cheat code picks. I think Hollywood's a good boom or bust guy. So far, no bust on him. No risk really. He's been great. But we got to remember he's making his 3rd start. He's coming off of a foot surgery, so it is possible that he can kind of regress a little bit here and there. But I love the upside. I mean, he's got wide receiver 1 upside for sure.
Yep.
Will Fuller's a guy who you can pretty much always put on this list. He hasn't had that marquee big game yet, but he's just ready. At any given time, he can hit you with the 150 yards, 2 touchdown game. And then I was talking about him earlier. I like Terry McLaurin. The only reason I don't have him as like a true start is, they're going against the Bears. It's a tough matchup. Maybe they can shut him down. He's only in his 3rd game, but he did pretty good against Byron Jones last week. So I think he can, or Sunday more so. I think he can keep it up. So high upside there, but he could get shut down by what might be the best defense in football. Tight end, I got TJ Hawkinson. Oh my God. So that week 1, you made it look like he was going to be an every week start, top 5 guy, and then he comes out and he gets like 1 catch. So I normally stay away from rookie tight ends, but he's got the upside there. I think he's already proved with his first 2 games, just straight risk reward. So be wary, but if he's good, he can be great. And then I also have OJ Howard, who didn't do anything last week. I don't think he got a target. He might have gotten 1 target. He's too good. He should be a top 5, top 7, top 5 kind of guy. So I think they can maybe get him more involved.
Yeah, is it the Bruce Arians neglecting the tight end? Or is it Winston just not getting on the ball? You're right. He should be dominate. He should be a top tight end. Yeah,
and I think that when the talent's there, you got to make your scheme around it. So I think it's pretty unacceptable. He 0 points in last week, which I know you're a huge fan of the 0 point guys.
Yes.
But I think they got to get him involved. He's one of their top players there.
Yep. All right, let's get into some waivers. Who are your top waiver ads this week?
All right, so I did mine just based off of what was on, they're in my league, so I don't know if they're there for every league, obviously. So, it's pretty impossible to tell. But I got a couple quarterbacks. I'll just go over them real fast. Andy Dalton, like you were talking about, he's putting up a lot of garbage time stats, but I mean, that works in fantasy. Look at that one year Blake Bortles was, a starting quarterback. And then I also have Matthew Stafford. In a couple of my leagues, he's there. He's a top 5 quarterback points-wise. I don't think he's going to stay that way, but I mean, it's pretty unreal to have a top 5 at any position sitting on waivers. So, I mean, pick him up. I also have 2 wide receivers. I have DJ, I guess they're pronouncing it Shark. So I'm going to start doing that, even though it definitely reads like Shark.
Yeah.
He's looked like their number 1 receiver out there. He's got chemistry with Gardner Minshew out there. He got the touchdown back-to-back weeks. I'm picking him up if he's there. He looks like he could be. I don't think it's going to be a prolific offense by any chance, but he's going to be their number 1 guy, so he's going to get the targets, it looks like. And then I also have Deebo Samuel on the 49ers. Now, going into this season, I thought Dante Pettis was going to be their number 1 guy, but I guess he has something wrong with the front office. They just hate him or something. I'm not sure. But Deebo looks like they're working him into the lineup as much as they can. He looks like he might be their number 1 guy, and he's coming off a pretty good game. I think he had about 90 yards. I know he got in the end zone, so I definitely add him on there and leave him on the bench, see if he keeps it up and breaks out.
If I was a Niners fan, I would have my custom jersey that just says Debo on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that'd be a cool one. I might do one for their Hollywood one, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, yeah, the Packers had a guy in camp. His last name was DeBeer, Debeer. So every guy had the DeBeer jersey. I got my Packer DeBeer jersey. Yeah, DeBeer. Well, yeah, it was the one to have, and then they cut him. So I guess people have a lot of souvenirs.
They just got it in their man cave in the basement.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, waivers for me this week. Yeah, every league's different, like you said, and if they're available, I think I like my opportunity this week to get some guys that I want to get because everybody's going to be using their waiver wire bucks, whether it's free agent, budget, or priority for Demarcus Robinson for the Chiefs. He had 6 passes the other week, 172, pair of touchdowns. He was a monster, right? Mm-hmm. Is this guy going to be a flash in the pan? Is this a mirage? I don't know. I kind of feel like it is. My gut says it is. So most people are going to be clamoring for this guy. That's fine. Take him, because I'm looking at, I want a little handcuff in Jalen Samuels for the Steelers. I know the knee injury knocked out James Conner out of the second half last week when they lost to Seattle. Samuels picked up like 4 touches, 31 yards, but if Conner can't suit up, or he's got more, knee issues, he's your handcuff. I take him. They're going to run the ball. They got Mason Rudolph in there. They're going to want to establish the run rather than, putting the game on his shoulders and off his arm each week. So for me, I'm trying to go after Samuels this week. I like him. Even Frank Gore for the Bills, Singletary, he was looking like the back to own, and then, he's out with a hamstring injury. So I think Gore, he finished 68 yards, a touchdown, 19 carries. But if Singletary can't play against the Bengals, I think Gore's, he's going to start, but he's going to draw enough to merit some nice flex consideration. Debo, you said, Samuel, I love him. Absolutely. He's a must-add waiver wire guy. Even Nelson Aguilar, he's been sitting out there. He didn't even get drafted in a lot of leagues this year. I personally liked him this year because he was going back to the slot, and that's the position he really kind of broke out in. But with the injuries, is that going to force him back out to the outside? If people are still staying away, I'll swoop in and take him and just throw him on the bench, see what he does. And DJ Shark too, he's another one, man. I don't know, I didn't make any sense of that Jaguars wide receiver corps, but I think he is the guy to own. And like you said, it's Gardner Minshew's favorite option. 7 and 9 targets, 55 yards and a touchdown. He's got a deep threat ability as well, so I think he's the guy out of nowhere in Jacksonville. So he's a free agent ad I want. And then the other guy we talked about, Demarcus Robinson, everybody's going to go after him. Everybody's going to go after Will Dissly too, tight end. Watch your leagues. He's going to go off. Somebody's going to be getting his ass first pick, and they're going to be dumping him within a couple of weeks. So snatch him up. Let me get my guys that I want. So I'm not too worried. Those are kind of the top trending waiver guys, I would say, in my opinion there.
Yeah, I like that list. And I just wanted to go back to the Frank Gore one just because it's man, that's such a perfect Frank Gore stat line. It's like 16. It's just right there. He's good.
Yeah, and without Singletary, you got to give him the bump, to the 100, maybe 2 touchdowns, something. I think without Singletary, you get him a bump in carries and maybe another red zone look. So that's he's worth it just to get by for a little while.
I'm going to give you the dud, so I like having guys like that on my team.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, we just talked about waiver wire ads. Let's talk about some players that we're going to cut. This is the Show Me Sunday short list. Players on a short leash that are on the drop list.
Screw you! You're fired! You're fired! Whoa! You're fired! You're fired!
That's right, Vince. I only have 3, really. I'm not a big dropper early in the season unless, like I said last week, it's a guy that gives me a 0. I'm not dealing with that. 0, you're gone. So I don't really get into a lot of players that I'm cutting too early in the season, but for me, I would go Pettis. You talked about him earlier. He had 2 snaps in week 1. He was all the way up to 35 on Sunday. The bad news is he has really no full-time role in that 49er offense. Last week he wasn't. I don't believe he was even targeted in that game. So Dante Pettis, I'm just going to cut you. I'm going to go after DJ Shark. I'm going to grab somebody that's getting me some consistent catches. Dante Moncrief for the Steelers. Dislocated finger he suffered in training camp seems to still be an issue. If you saw that play on Sunday, did you see it? Like it goes through his hands, it smacks his face mask, and then right in the arms of the Seahawks safety, the McDougald or whoever. That's his fifth drop in 2 games. I mean, I think I'm done with Moncrief. He can go. See ya. And
they
then
might be done with him based off after that.
Yeah, who knows what Mason Rudolph's going to do with this guy? I mean, I think it's more James Washington. I should have added him as a waiver wire ad. James Washington, because that's your Oklahoma State connection right there.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he comes, into some more opportunity. And then finally, for me, I'm cutting any Miami Dolphin players, anybody that you got, just get them out of there. There's no reason. I mean, if I don't have any rostered, if you do, maybe in a deep league, you're waiting and seeing, but I don't know what to tell you. It's the Dolphins. They're playing for another team. Tape for another team to showcase, and hopefully they get signed like Minka did. They just want to get out of there.
If this was a different sport, they would have been regulated by now. So,
yeah, so they are gone. Who do you got?
So I guess you already jumped on Pettis. So yeah, same for me. I have him as one of my 3 there. He's not even worth a bench spot. He can't even sit around. I'll pick him back up if I need to. These are all guys who have personally hurt me, by the way. So the next 2, Tariq Cohen, we talked about. If he doesn't do anything this week, I don't know if I can keep him. And I'm with you where I don't like to drop guys early in the season, but he's not even a part of the offense. He's got, I think, 12 total fantasy points in 2 weeks. And that's in a PPR league where he should really be getting some of those easy underneath catches. Just completely ineffective. And then also Dion Lewis, who I thought was great value. I picked him up like late in drafts, thinking there was going to be certain weeks I could flex, especially in PPR. I think he has 4 points. I'm actually essentially ready to drop him if Derrick Henry, keeps playing how he's been playing.
Absolutely, yeah. Dion Lewis is a odd one too. Last year. Kind of the same thing. I mean, that was a weird backfield last year with them too.
Yeah, it seems like it should be straightforward that he would be the the pass catcher guy, and then I don't know, maybe.
You there?
Only year where Derrick Henry. Man, did I cut out again? Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. It was cutting out for a couple of seconds.
Oh, I was just saying, this is the only year I only have Derrick Henry in one league. Every other year, I try to get him in every league because I just like the potential. And this is the year that it looks like he might actually be consistently good. So that's just kind of my luck type situation.
Yeah, see, all those kind of things, I'm hashtagging because fantasy, because it just never it never fails. It never fails. It's just I'm gonna put that out there all season long and get it trending because it's so true. It's so true. The opposite, the opposite theory. So, all right, well, let's go get into some real life NFL pick'ems. Let's set up the intro here.
What kind of horse y'all got? Lion horse. What kind of horse y'all got? Lion horse. What kind of horse y'all got? Lion horse. Y'all boys ready? Yeah. Y'all boys ready? Yeah. Go. Y'all boys ain't ready? Shit. Somebody light me up. Boom.
Doesn't get any better than the NFL Films music. I love it. The point spreads. Yeah, it is, man. It's so good. Even on Madden, I cut out all the other music and just play the classics.
Oh, I love that they have it on there. I do the same thing.
I don't even want to hear I hear it on my other, iTunes or whatever in the gym. I listen to it, but when I play Madden, I just want the straight NFL Films music on there. But yeah, let's get into some real life betting odds, point spreads, game pick'ems. These are the week 3 slate of games. I'm picking them live for the first time. And real quick, just to go over point spreads, I had a couple people ask, and like I said, we take stuff for granted a lot of times, but point spreads and the minus points and the plus, a team that's minus 4.5 is favored to win the game by 4.5. A team that has the plus 4.5, they need to cover that. So are they going to either win straight up, or will the opposing team not win by that much? So if Dallas is 4.5 and they don't cover that 4.5, it's going to New York. Say it like, you can say it like that, but just to clarify. So let's go, John, here. I got the first game. We got Tennessee at Jacksonville Thursday night. Jacksonville's getting the plus 1.5. I still like Tennessee.
Yeah, and I'm also doing these live because I like that you did that last week. So, I you know what? It doesn't make any sense, but I actually want to go with the Jags. Just a gut feeling.
Okay, I think it's gonna be it's a tough game. Like I said, they're gonna be out for blood this week, but then we'll go to Indianapolis. Falcons traveling to Indy. Indy is favored by 2.5. Even with Jacoby Brissett, I'm going Atlanta. They got a little wave of momentum. I think they can take that.
Yeah, I figured Atlanta would be the favorite there. That was kind of surprising. Yeah, I'm going to go with Atlanta on that one too.
Yeah, even if it went to like Indy winning the game straight up, I just see that as more of a 21-20 kind of game.
Yeah.
Something like that, or maybe, I don't think they cover it, but yeah, the Lions, Eagles, that's in Philly, and the Eagles are -6.5, so favored by 6.5. Hey, Detroit's been pretty bad, but they've still been throwing the ball like crazy.
Yeah, and technically they're undefeated, I think, so if you don't count that tie. So. Yeah, 6.5. All the injuries is the only thing that makes me kind of hesitant, but I think I'd take the Eagles on this one. I think they can win by probably double digits.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Detroit only because the Eagles they're banged up. Darius Slay, defensive back for the Lions, he's tough. He's a lockdown corner. We'll see if they can contain the run game at all. But I'm gonna go Detroit. Then we'll do we already only need to say this one. Dolphins at Cowboys. Oh, they're in Dallas. Oh God, what's the spread? You ready for this one? -21.5. Dallas favored by 21.5. I'll give it to him, man.
That's a college. That's what you see when like a top 5 college plays one of those no-name schools. That's the kind of point spread.
Yeah.
I can't give it to Miami though. They haven't shown anything. What have they scored 10 points so far this season? I got to give it to Dallas. It's crazy.
Yeah, last week Matt and I had said it's like when point spreads are 12, 15, you just stay away from them because they never cover. But I think Miami's an exception this year. I think they're down to break some records. Tank for Tua, baby. Look at the Raiders. The greatness of the Raiders. Going to Minnesota. Minnesota's favored by 7.5. Hey, I don't know how. Kirk Cousins, Raiders.
This game's just an icky one. I don't like it. I'm going Raiders I think they'll lose, but I think they'll cover.
Yeah, I could see that. That's more of a 3-point swing or 4, 5, something. You know what I mean? Like one of those win by a field goal, maybe.
One of those ones that's way too close for the talent on the field.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, I'm gonna go Oakland as well. Cincinnati at Buffalo. Buffalo favored 5.5. I don't see why Buffalo can't get that done.
Yeah, no, that's I could see that. I could see them winning single touchdown.
Yeah, Josh Allen, you run around, make some plays. They got John Brown busted open at some point. He's going to get deep and get behind the secondary. I could see him getting a few of them a game.
Yeah, I can see that. And they got Cole Beasley to get the underneath stuff. I like how their team's built, actually. Yeah,
it's you could kind of see a little identity that what they want to do there. They're trying. They're trying. They're the Kings of New York right now.
Oh yeah, it's got more wins in those stadiums than what the 2 teams that play there might have all season. It looks like
Kings of New York for the minute. Bills Mafia, and then Jets and Patriots. Can't wait. Patriots favored by 22.5.
Oh man,
another 20+ point spread. Good God.
I mean, I don't even know who's going to be playing quarterback for the Jets. So that's definitely a part of it.
Yeah.
That's too big, especially with a division game. I'm gonna take the Jets, actually.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable.
Then we've got the Denver Broncos and the Packers. Packers favored by 7.5. I can see that. I can see the Packers plus.
Yeah, I just want to see how good the Packers offense is. They've looked really good in spurts, but then they don't do anything sometimes. So I'm hoping they kind of get the chemistry together a little bit. But yeah, I'll take Packers on that one.
Yeah, there's too many good players offensively for the Packers, whether it's Adams, Jones, or MVS. They could even get some tight end play involved there. Jimmy Graham sighting maybe, but I think offensively, I'm sorry, for the Packers, like week 1, the Bears, I think when you play the Bears, you're going to grind it out. It's going to be a low-scoring game. They're going to, you're going to play down to their style. And then the Minnesota game, the first half, that offense is what everybody was thinking and hoping for.
Oh, yeah.
And then it just fizzled. I don't know why, but it completely fizzled. So I think that's their motivating factor this week, to play a complete game offensively, and Denver's the team that they're going to do it on. Then we can get into the Ravens and Chiefs. We talked about it earlier. Chiefs are favored by 6.5. I'm going Baltimore all day, man.
Yeah, I'm going Baltimore. I think we have a chance to win outright, and I think if we do lose, it's going to be like last year, where it's potentially overtime, field goal game. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, it's going to be a close one, whether it's a high-scoring close one or a low-scoring close one. I think it's going to be a tight game, back and forth. That one last season was, man, how many lead changes were in that game? That was just one of the best all-around games. Just a great one.
Of course, you want to come out with the win, but watching games like that's so much fun. And for what it's worth in this game, I know it's not part of this. I'm taking the over. I think this could be a shootout. Maybe our defense makes a big interception or something. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yep. Absolutely. And then we've got the Panthers at Cardinals going out to the desert. Cardinals plus 2.5. I'll go Cardinals there for sure.
Yeah, I have them winning outright, so I got to take them there.
Yeah, I would take them absolutely. With Cam banged up, Kyler Murray, I think he's going to get. It seems like he's going to get his no matter who he plays, just because of the way that offense is. Carolina's traveling cross country. So give me the Cardinals, and then we've got the Giants and the Bucks. Bucks are favored 6.5 in Tampa Bay. I'll take Tampa Bay on that.
I think Daniel Jones is starting. I'm going to take the Giants just off the feeling. I think Daniel Jones is going to go in there and just play how he's playing in the preseason. I think he'll give him some life. So I'll go Giants on this one. Yeah,
I'm curious to see how he looks. How he does. I can't wait to see that. Then we've got the Saints traveling to Seattle. Seattle's favored 5.5.
Man, this would have been a really great game without that injury.
I know.
I got to go Seattle.
Yeah, I'm going to go Seattle as well. That would have been a great matchup with Breeze. A little payback for the Marshawn Lynch steamroller game all them years ago. Yeah. That was a crazy one. Texans and Chargers. Yeah, Texans at LA. And LA's favored by 3.5.
I'll go Texans because I have them winning outright. So some of these are surprising to me. I'll go Texans.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Chargers don't seem... Are they going back to their start slow teams? You know, when they start slow and they come on strong at the end of the season kind of style. I mean, it seems like they're going back to that.
They're definitely going back to having a bunch of injuries, so that's affecting them.
Yeah.
I think the Texans are a better team as is right now. But like I said, the Chargers aren't fully healthy. I don't know. Maybe they do that thing where they just are really good at the end of the year again.
Yeah, they'll start coming around like mid-season. Then we've got the Steelers traveling to San Francisco. And the 49ers are favored by 6.5.
That's a tough one because I don't know how good Jimmy G actually is.
Seems like he's getting better. He's coming around. I think he's got to get some more games under his feet. But I'll go the Niners here because even Mason Rudolph, I mean, first game, you're on the road. You're in San Francisco. It's not really a hostile territory, but still traveling to the West Coast and time differences, all that stuff. Your first game as a starter. You're not throwing to AB anymore. You don't have Le'Veon Bell back there. You know, it's a different offense. So I think I'd lean San Francisco.
Yeah, Steelers definitely looking vulnerable at the moment. Even without the injuries, I thought they were. And you're right. I think we take for granted these guys coming back from injury are just going to be great right away. So maybe Jimmy G's, getting to full health still. But I agree. I'll go 49ers for this one as well.
All right. And then the Rams at Cleveland. Cleveland's getting 2.5, plus 2.5. The Browns. I like the Rams, man.
I like the Rams too. I don't think the Browns have looked that good, and I think that the stat line for Monday was kind of padded by that big catch and run by OBJ.
Yeah.
So I'm going Rams as well.
Yeah, the Rams defense is no joke, and I know they're traveling, but I said too in the beginning of the year, like Cleveland, they got all, Odell and all this new teams and acquisitions. I thought it would take them a little while to get going, to get that team to gel, and I think that's kind of what's happening. Maybe, week 5, 6, we'll see where they're at. They might be a completely different team where they put it all together and they're dangerous, but right now, I don't see it. I just don't see it.
Something to look out for that too is it looked like and I've been seeing some people were saying Baker Mayfield's having a hard time reading like these disguised coverages, and he was making some mistakes on Monday, so maybe keep an eye on that. And then also just that the Browns line has not looked good, that offensive line, and I think Aaron Donald could feast Sunday night. Absolutely.
And then I think this is Monday night, right? Bears at Redskins, and the Redskins are plus 4.5. I'm going Bears. The defense, they've been playing close games so far, so why is this one going to be any different?
Yeah, defense by itself is enough to give me the confidence because that offense isn't doing it, but I can't go against the Bears with this one because it's not like the Redskins have shown much more.
All right, that's where it's at. Anybody that you want to lock? Give me a lock.
Oh, give me a lock. Let me look back through these games. I will lock in. That one's too easy. It's not bold enough. I'll just do it because it's safe. I'm gonna lock the Seahawks up. I don't think the Saints have any chance without Drew Brees to beat that team. Even though the defense doesn't look quite as good there, they still have Russell Wilson, and the Saints aren't going to have a guy who can go back and forth with the playmaking.
Yeah. Let me scroll here. I don't know. Like I said, we do this live. We're doing it live.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. Who do I take opposite? I'm gonna lock Detroit. Give me the Lions.
Yo!
Okay. Right. Much more bold than mine.
Lock and load!
Only because, like we talked about Matt Stafford earlier, and like you said, he'll sling it. He's gonna put so many points up. He throws it. He'll keep them in some games. Kerryon Johnson, Babytron in Philly. Philly doesn't have their weapons. I'll take the Lions. Lock them up. Lock them up.
I like it.
All right, we'll see what happens during the Sunday. We got to talk some trash. Let me know. We'll see how it plays out in real life.
Yeah, definitely only if I'm right, though. You won't hear from me if I'm not.
Correct. Crickets only. All right, well, that will wrap up the Week 3 Purple Rain Fantasy Show podcast. And as always, thank you very much for listening, supporting the show. Continue to hit us up on Twitter. Give our articles a read on purplerainshow.com. We've got Ravens content, fantasy content, much more available there. We're all active on Twitter, so be sure to jump on there, post up questions, fantasy questions, Ravens questions, anything. We'll definitely respond to you, go back and forth for sure. So, John, thanks for coming on this week, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, anytime. Love being here.
Definitely got to do this again. And then, as always, good luck to everyone this week in your fantasy leagues. Check back for next week's episode, and I appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah, all right, this press conference is over.
Go away.
No, it's over, Phil.
Well, please,
it's over.
That wraps up today's episode. For even more fantasy football content, find Frank on Twitter at FantasyWireHQ and online at thefantasyfootballwire.com. Be sure to tune in next week, and thanks for listening.